talking to Francisco, who recently landed his first data analytics job. So Francisco, I'd like you to tell a little bit about your background prior to joining CourseCareers. So, what education did you have? What
Sure.
schooling? What other jobs? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. So my main, I guess, previous experience has been a lot in like sales. So sales and like retail sales, selling insurance, mostly in communication. As far as like education and things of that nature, I was going to college, but I decided not to complete it. I was pursuing a degree in finance, but in my last year, I decided, it probably wasn't for me. And so that's why I kind of navigated towards sales, because I knew, learning how to communicate could be a very beneficial skill to learn. So yeah, sales and insurance is mainly my background.
And so why did you decide to kind of make a pivot and look at data analytics instead of doing, for example, tech sales?
Yeah, so it was during insurance. When I was doing insurance, my mentor really taught me how I can take the data that I'm, doing from the calls and actually organize it in a way where I can be a little more profitable in terms of like knowing what areas to focus on. And so at that point, I really started to know or realize how important, gathering data is, cleaning it up, things of that nature. So I already had like a little taste of data analytics, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And so as I started to look more into, I guess, a little bit of data analytics, I started to think, it's probably a career path I would like to pursue.
Right.
So that's when I found CourseCareers.
Okay. And how did you end up, you sort of started to get into it, but how did you hear about CourseCareers?
Yeah, so it was mainly through TikTok. I saw individuals who have taken CourseCareers and either landed roles in IT or in data analytics itself. And so at first I was kind of brushed it off, kind of like how you usually do it. But as I kept feeding me, I decided to take a look, and I started reading into like all the different areas CourseCareers offers, from like tech sales all the way to data analytics, IT, or HR. And I thought data analytics would be something I would like to do, and I ended up reading the description, going through that free course, and then I ended up purchasing the actual course itself.
And as you went through the course, did you have any of so the course teaches Excel, SQL, Python, and Tableau. You probably had experience with Excel, but not the other ones? Am I guessing right?
Yep. I had experience with Excel, but like SQL, Tableau, and Python, those are all new to me.
Yep.
So those were, a challenge in itself, but
Gotcha.
The course did explain everything well, which I'm sure we'll kind of get into it here in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So since we're talking about it, so what was your experience going through the course? Did you just do the videos, or did you end up using the Discord and like the teaching assistants a lot to figure things out, or how was your progress?
Yeah. So Excel, because I already had some background in it, I pretty much kind of breezed through it, I guess you can say. Yeah. It was when I started like taking advantage of the Discord and the teachers and the teaching assistants, was when I started learning SQL. SQL was a challenge in itself. I had to constantly watch the videos over when I was doing practice problems in the videos. You do the practice problems kind of, I don't know, after learning a couple of things to do. I would try to pause it and do it on my own, just like you said. Sometimes I would do it. Sometimes I would get absolutely stuck. I would just have to keep watching the videos until like I finally learned how to do it. And then of course, taking advantage of the teaching the assistants to help me out to solve my problems.
Okay. And so Tableau was not really an issue because it's all graphical user interface, right? With SQL, you're doing more like programming. You get the wrong syntax, the things like 99% correct, but one thing wrong, and then it just doesn't.
Yeah, one letter. Yeah. One character wrong. For Tableau, I think it wasn't as big of a challenge as SQL. There was a challenge to it a little bit, just because there's so much you could do with Tableau to organize the graphs and the data to make it look as presentable as you would want it to be. So there was so much to it. There was a little bit of a challenge to it, but not as much as like SQL or Python.
Yep. And then how about the final exams? Did you take the finals, the proctored and unproctored portions? Did you take those once, or did you need to go through them a couple times?
So luckily, I passed for the final exam. The unproctored one, I passed. I passed simply because I kept preparing for it. So I kept going through the videos over again, and I kept practicing the practice unproctored and the practice final exam. I kept doing those over and over and over simply because I really needed to get the information down into my head. But it was a lot of practicing and preparing to finally take the final exams. But luckily I passed on my first try for both of the exams.
And then what was your experience when you finished? Actually, let me just ask, how long do you remember did it take you to go from like signing up for the full course to completing it?
It took me about 2 to 3 months, I believe, to finish everything. And that was me like making that the priority. I really wanted to, get a job in data analytics and move away from that current role I had.
Mhm.
So I was doing it every single day, trying to get through as much as I can, really, put to the gas. Yeah, but yeah, I know some days I didn't do it, but it was my main priority.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. So you were, do you know, like 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week? What would you say you were putting in?
Like an hour and a half, an hour and a half,
Hour and a half. A
hour
day.
and a half.
So you were steady most every day, hour and a half, 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
You got through it all. Okay. And then once you finished, what steps did you take to land a role?
Yeah. So the steps I did was I knew I was going to take advantage of the coaching services that you guys offer. So because I knew my resume had to be fixed up in order to be tailored toward data analytics.
Yep.
Yes, at the end of the course, you kind of go through that the graduate portal, and they help you, fix your resume up. I fixed it up, I did it, but I still think I needed some more tailoring because I didn't really know much about the resume. So what was her name? Mary Hopkins, I believe.
H-O-O-K, Hoke. Yeah.
Mary Hoke. Yeah, there we go. I reached out to her.
Yeah.
So I had a session with her, and she helped me. She answered all my questions. She helped me fix up my resume. She told me a bunch of mock interview questions that they might ask me, as well as fixing up my my LinkedIn. So she did a phenomenal job. I'm glad I went to her. And then I think she really gave me an advantage, or she really helped me prepare to land the role that I'm
Right.
currently at.
Yes. I mean, so far, everybody I've talked to who's landed roles either worked with one of our coaches or their own, that they found, but they had somebody to help look over and tighten up their resume.
Yeah, it's definitely a must, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, you can do some of the work yourself, kind of get into better shape, but I think you need a second pair of eyes on it.
Oh, yeah.
And then did you just apply to open positions? Like what was the?
Yeah, so at first, I was applying to open positions. I was kind of simply just applying on LinkedIn, on Indeed. And then I started networking out to some of my friends who were in the logistics industry, asking them if they had open positions at the company. Luckily, I came across one of my friends who did have an open position that just kind of opened up.
Yeah.
And I applied to the position. I told them, hey, if you can, I guess put in a word for me. Here's my resume, things of that nature. And then after I applied, it was about 2 days after they finally reached out to me, did the phone interview, things of that nature. And then I think that following week, I did a second in-person interview.